Welcome to All Things Possible TV. I'm Kris Barney, and I want to welcome you today to our show. This episode is Unconditional Love. And I want to talk with you today and share some tips with you and some things that maybe you haven't thought of how unconditional love can affect your life. The very first thing I have to tell you about is that you cannot unconditionally love others until you unconditionally love yourself. This is something I struggled with for years. And there's even times now that I struggle with. I know you don't think I struggle ever, right? No, totally wrong. I even struggle now with unconditionally loving myself, not having those expectations and those feelings of that I have to accomplish this or I have to have this much going on, and that's my worth. What we need to do as humans is have unconditional love. I used to think that I was very loving and kind, and I did love everyone. And what I found is the more I loved me completely and unconditionally, the more I could love others, the more capacity I had to love. And so for a long time, I had this false sense that I loved other people, I just freely gave of my love to people, and always had this going on, yet deep down inside, for years, I did not love me. And it was evident. I said things all the time. I was my own worst enemy in not loving myself. And that can be very difficult. I want to tell you a couple of different stories, a couple of different ways that I learned the hard way how to unconditionally love. And these are near and dear to my heart. I share a lot of my experiences with you from my family, from different trials and different things we've had to go through. And I hope you have just that respect to understand that this is where I learned it from. And a lot of times I tell you the really most difficult things most people wouldn't share. But I want to start with the Beatles song. All you need is love. Now, years and years ago, this came out as, the #1 song, and it hit all the charts. And it has been remade by several people and hit the top of the charts several times because it's such a genuine rule that we need to live by. All we need is love. And that is unconditional love. A few years ago, I had one of my sons that had all these awards, was phenomenal in all areas of his life. And I'm a very religious person. Our family's very religious. And after a lot of different things, he'd gone to help in an orphanage after graduation. Then he was in charge of a big scout. He was chief of the whole scout troop and of like 250 scouters going on this big adventure, this advanced scouting program with the Boy Scouts. And after all of this, he came to us and he said that he was having some problems and that he was choosing an alternate lifestyle. That was tough for our family. It was really, really tough. Because I knew what a family meant to me, and I knew how that love as a family and children had such a big bearing. As I tried to counsel him and as I told him how things would be difficult, I never stopped loving him. I absolutely loved him as much, if not more, in trying to start to work through this situation. And as I saw it then, the trial. And he went off to college, did his own thing. There was a little bit of, this is really hard and difficult, as our family learned different ways to handle this. But we always welcomed him back. He brought friends over, he brought people over because we loved him anyway, no matter what. It was unconditional love all the way. And he would come and he would have people that he brought around with him to our home, and they would say, oh, my family totally disowned me. They're religious, and they said, yep, no way, get out. I found more times than not, they were chastised, thrown out, not understood, not loved through it. Our family chose to embrace this, to embrace my son and embrace his choices, and to assist him to have a happy life, to move forward in his life, and to be successful. He's extremely successful. He now is 24. He had his master's degree before he was 21. Very successful, very goal-oriented, and is a powerful influence in the world. He does so much good, and a lot of it we keep secret, and we do a lot of sub for Santa, a lot of giving that people don't know about, and he's a big piece of that. People have no idea what's in his heart, and they judge him by his choices. And yet, we as a family, the more we studied, the more we learned, the more we tried to understand his situation, how he felt, where he was coming from, and why he would want to have this kind of a life, the more we understood, the more we loved. The more we learned how to unconditionally love. When you love your children, it is not conditional. It should not ever be conditional. It should not be, if you're not this, I don't love you. Ever. And I have found hundreds, literally hundreds of homes that it's, if you're not this, you're out. This happens a lot. And it's not just by a choice of lifestyle. There's a lot of things that change the dynamics in a family and create upset and I would not even hatred, but fear that they're not going to be loved. And when those times come, what really needs to be put in place is unconditional love. The more we can love, the more we can make our relationships better, the more we can move forward in our life, the more we can have the capacity to be the best that we can be. Just a couple weeks ago, well, not even that long ago, about 10 days ago, this same son had been in a relationship that was a very loving relationship, and they had been together quite a while. I got a phone call at 11 o'clock at night on Saturday. I had recently had surgery, was not even able to walk. I had some foot surgery, was on a couch with an ice machine. I got a phone call at 11 o'clock at night, and I heard on the other end, you need to come down. Your son is very upset and not doing well. We just broke up our relationship, and you need to come now. 30 minutes later, my husband and I were in the car to drive 12 hours to go be with this particular son that lives out of state. We also picked up another son on the way that had some time that he could get from work, and so the three of us jumped in the car, drove all night to get down there. The reason I tell you this story is that most people are like, it was just a relationship, it's no big deal, so he broken-hearted, you know, wah, 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 right? Not at our house. This was huge for him. He hadn't had a relationship that had meant this much to him ever yet. This is the first relationship he had come and spent time with us, with this person, and it mattered tremendously to him. What I can tell you is because we dropped everything, because that was just as important as a breakup of any other relationship in our family, he saw us show him unconditional love. That value for himself increased tremendously. Yeah, we went down, we talked about things, we helped him do a couple things, we went out to eat. In fact, most people that saw pictures of us with a palm tree in the sunshine, because I'm from Utah, thought I was on vacation, which that would have been nice. But we showed unconditional love at a different level. Drop everything and run. It was not an easy time to be gone. I had a lot of deadlines. My husband had a lot of jobs. My son had obligations at his work. But we did it. That's what unconditional love is about. Is drop the barriers, drop the demands, drop the expectations. Unconditional love gets to be just that, unconditional. My second example for you right now is another story we've been going through for the last year. My daughter was in a bad car accident while she was down to college last January. It's been a year. She tried really hard to stay at school and tried endlessly to stay there. She had a bad head injury, and she had also had some problems with how her skull had grown through her life. So this became a particular very difficult problem for her. She had massive migraine headaches, loss of all of her short-term memory, and really was a difficult trial. We tried for 2 months to keep her down at school. I'd go down and help her. She'd come home. We tried everything. Finally, from doctor's orders, we had to withdraw her from school. This is a child that was down there on a leadership scholarship. She got good grades, almost straight A's completely through all of her high school. And now she couldn't remember what class she had or where it was at, or which one she signed up for, or who the professor was. But not only that, she lost her job, and she could only take a job that was not as difficult to do, not as much memory, not have to memorize things, took her twice as long as it should have to learn what she had to learn to be able to work there, and it was at least a $3 an hour cut in pay. Now that's the small things. A year later, she's not the same person at all. There's a lot of things in her that showed up. Her love of nature, her love of earth and raw food, stuff like that that really was something that lived for her has shown up at a new level. But she went through a really hard, trying time. And for our family, was breaking most of the rules and became this challenge that was like, oh my heck, is it the same person? She lost all of her friends, and it's been a really hard trial. She's needed to see unconditional love on several levels from friends and coworkers and stuff, and she hasn't seen it. Yeah, lost her friends, lost school, changed everything. But our family has stood by her, even though it's been challenging, and even though she has felt like, oh no, I'm breaking the rules and I'm not living the standard that my parents want me to. I'm not under the same belief system now. She's totally changed her belief system. How much of that will stay with her, I have no idea. And what I can tell you is, even though I wish that there were some things that were different, I love her unconditionally, and I am thrilled to be able to have her come back home, live with us, and help me. The biggest thing that I found just recently while I've been down having foot surgery is I've had a lot of health problems and things that doctors didn't have answers for. And so we have been looking into health and eating and different things that way. The minute that I showed her value, the minute I said, Chantel, I want you to be my coach, my food coach, my health coach, this is the problems I'm having. My body's not holding potassium, my body's not holding vitamin B. What can we do? She immediately went to the computer, started trying to study, and started trying to put things together. Went to the store, because again, I'm on the couch, and purchased things that we could make different food to give my body the nutrition it needed. That's a long story, but at the same time, what I want you to get from that is the minute that I unconditionally loved her with her talents and abilities for what she is interested in, her value increased. Her want to help me increased. The minute I put expectations into it, nope, too busy. What I want you to see from this lesson of these two children, all of us are going to have teenagers that are difficult, push the boundaries, push the rules. I'm not saying don't have any rules or any expectations of what your children should do. But I am saying that unconditional love means love them anyway. No matter what choice they're choosing and what's going on, you still get to love them. You still get to love those around you. Try to find value in what they are interested in and in what lives for them. This is true principles. This is really hard to do, especially because we have to start with ourselves. But once you start doing it, you start to see value in the guy standing on the street corner. just last week, nope, week before, because it was in between. I'd had surgery. I drove 3 days and then had surgery again because there was some complications. So I drove 3 days. 2 of the 3 days while I was out driving around, I actually pulled over and handed money out the window to people. I love to do this. But this particular gentleman was standing there, and instead of holding a sign that says, you know, need money, homeless, whatever, give to me, he was holding a sign that said, I would love to work. Do you have something I can do? He wanted to earn the money. He wanted to be able to, you know, show up for his family, feed his family, and be valuable. And I reached out and handed him a larger bill, one that he wasn't expecting. And he sat there and bless you, bless you. And I said to him, no, bless you. You're willing to work. You're having a tough time. Bless you. You deserve to be loved. You deserve a chance, an opportunity. I know not everyone that's standing there holding a sign deserves money. I know that. And I don't give it to everyone. But I do sense when there's someone who's really trying and really trying to do, that when we love them anyway, their value increases. He smiled. He walked taller. And before the light changed, 4 other cars handed him money. When we show value in someone, when they're not seeing it themselves, when we show that value and that unconditional love for that person, others see value in them as well. When we set that example and we show love anyway, even if it's not our standard, even if it's not what we believe, even if it's not how we would do it, I'm not saying you have to believe in what they're doing or how they're doing it or their choice, but believe in them. Believe that this for them is their real truth. I know that I grew up not ever thinking I would have to face these kind of trials. I never thought I would have to tell anybody ever in their life that same-sex attraction might be an issue that we've dealt with in our family. But I can tell you, I love my son completely, and he is loved unconditionally, 100%, and he knows it. And he has value, and he knows his family values him. Where does he go for Thanksgiving? He comes home. 12 hours away, he comes home. He has weeks and weeks of vacation time. That's what happens when you have a master's degree early in life. And where does he spend it? With his family. He comes home for Thanksgiving, for Christmas, for vacations. We have seen him 4 or 5 times since July. Okay, that's a lot in 6 months when it's a 12-hour drive or a flight to see your family. The reason I tell you this is because for so long I didn't love me. I didn't approve of me, and there was nothing wrong with me. I just didn't believe in me. I didn't forgive me for not being what I thought I should be or look the way I thought I should look. When I got married right after high school, I modeled. I'm 5'10", and I modeled size 4 to a size 6. It was really tough because that's really tall to be in that small of a size. Even after having children, I still could fit in a size 6. That's tiny for a big-boned 5'10" girl. That is what I had the expectation of, is that I had to be this certain thing. I had to look a certain way. Now, I modeled for me. I modeled so that I could say, I have value. Because outside of that, I didn't think I did. I didn't think I was beautiful. I didn't think that anyone would want to take a picture. That was my truth. And yet, I modeled and still felt like I wasn't good enough. I still wasn't pretty enough to be on stage. Just even less than 2 years ago, I was saying, no, I'm too fat to be on stage. I'm too fat to tell anybody how life could be different. I'm too heavy. I don't look a certain way, so I can't benefit and help anyone else. That is bogus. What I can tell you is that I have helped hundreds of people, and that actually being heavy, more people have related to me and been able to say, okay, so you're not blonde little Barbie. You can relate because, yeah, you have an extra few pounds to lose. Or you're not perfect, right? More people can relate to the real us when we are authentic and true, and can learn that they too can love themselves. They too can let go of the expectations, and that they can have unconditional love. If our world had unconditional love for everyone and we just embraced everybody, would we have war? No. Would we have people breaking the law? No. Would we have people homeless? No. If all of us could unconditionally love others, we would have love, we would have abundance, and we would share. Everyone would be abundant and free. You wouldn't have to lock your doors. You wouldn't have to do all these things that we do to protect ourselves if we unconditionally loved others. Who cares if the neighbors believe something other than what you believe? If the neighbors are unconditionally loving you back and you're unconditionally loving them, it's friends. It's support. It's people being there in a hard time. Isn't it interesting that the minute that there is a tornado or some type of bad storm or an earthquake, how people come together, and it's like, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe how these people helped. People want to be good. People want to love. Most of the time, they're just scared. Most of the time, they don't love themselves completely. There's a difference between arrogance and loving yourself. And a lot of times, while I was growing up, I felt like that it was the wrong choice to love me, that it wasn't right, and that it was something that was bad. And an arrogant, cocky, whatever word you want, what I have found is that it's the people who love themselves completely, the way they are, where they are, that make the biggest difference for others. I'm out in the speaking world and in the world of training and events, and it's those people that actually care about themselves and love themselves and live those principles that are out there changing the world for everybody else. They're changing lives. They're improving how people feel about themselves. They're adding value. So I hope that today you have learned that unconditional love starts here. It is the ultimate power in this universe. Unconditional love can change so much in your life. But let it begin with you. Let you be the recipient of loving yourself, giving yourself credit, adding value, and then you can add value to everyone else, everywhere, right? Thanks for joining me today on this episode. So come back and join us again. You may go to my website. So there's 7 traits to all things possible in your life, and we are adding that. We're also in the process of doing an ebook, and so you'll be able to get that. But for right now, you can go to my website at www.allthingspossible.biz. Again, that's www.allthingspossible.biz. You can opt in, and that will get you 3 free hours of training. And also, it gives you a chance to get my newsletter and other information. I do a lot of free information, a lot of free trainings, a lot of tools, a lot of experiences, and I would love to have you join me and be part of our group and join the movement of having all things possible in your life. So, see you next week, and again, come back to see more of All Things Possible TV. Thanks. Have a great time. See you next week.